The time is 8:43 a.m. News and views on Salam Media, and our next guest is Sikumbuzo Tomo, and we are going to be talking about what is the International Court of Justice, what is the role of the ICJ. A very good morning to you. Welcome. Are you there,
Yes, I'm here
Sikumbuzo?
now.
Oh, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to be talking about what exactly is the ICJ. It is based in The Hague. It is also known as the World Court, and it, as we understand it, is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. But I must tell you that a lot of us are confused with the ICJ and the ICC. Can you explain the difference to us, please?
Well, while the criminal court tries our leaders, the judicial system will then execute the findings. That's essentially the main differences between the two institutions.
Okay, so I also understand that the ICJ has a dual role, and this is to settle in accordance with international law, legal disputes, which is submitted to it by whichever state deems it necessary for them to take up a challenge. They also go on to give advisory opinions on legal questions referred to it by authorized international organs and agencies. And I'm kind of wondering, you referred to the ICC, that raises criminal matters at an international level. We here in South Africa for a long time have been talking state capture. We've talked about the Zondo Commission. We've talked about people implicated in the Zondo Commission with state capture issues who have fled our country. Are these organs perhaps the organs we ought to be using to bring these criminals to book? Or does this actually fall out of their jurisdiction?
Well, firstly, anyone, we can even include the Interpol in this. In any country that is firstly a signatory to the Rome Statute has every right to pursue its citizens that are outside its borders. And then secondly, the country host where the citizen is alleged to be at must also be a signatory to the Rome Statute. Now, if both countries are part of the statute, then either the ICC and the ICJ can then execute whatever recommendation that is there. The unfortunate part of it is that there's no appeals process in the whole step.
Can you explain that a little more when you say there's no appeals process in the step?
It simply means if they charge you and you do not agree, you cannot, like in South Africa, go to an appeals court.
Okay, so that brings me back to the state capture situation and the Guptas. Why is it that so many years later, and it's not only the Guptas, there are quite a number of South African citizens that have been involved in the state capture inquiry. We've not really heard much about these people or these individuals, being taken to either the ICC or the ICJ, let alone South Africa itself.
Well, the Commission on the State Capture can only recommend. That means it can only, whatever it finds, it has to hand over to your NPA, your legal type of bodies that have a right to prosecute and execute the questions that you are asking. In itself, its powers are limited. If you look at its stewards, it can only find out or seek to find out what had happened. And then from there, whoever is found, it allows them to appeal again, the point I was raising. Mm-hmm. And then once that is exhausted, the NPA process kicks in. And then the SAPS also, remember, must do its own internal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have two investigations. Or once that is done, if you are outside, SARS will then work with Interpol, and then they pursue you, or they pursue the
Okay.
alleged criminal. Yes.
All right. Do we know up to now? And of course, we understand that the United Nations began its work regarding the ICJ, and I should imagine also the ICC way back in 1946. Um, do we know if there were any major cases that might have involved South Africa? Um, do any come to mind over the years that were taken to either the ICC or the ICJ? And did we get a positive outcome regarding ICJ, hearing these matters or these cases?
The court, Hague, both ICC and J, they came into existence in 1998 and started earnestly in the mid 2000s to do their work. So it wouldn't have happened after the 1940s. There's the time gap in that. What would have happened was your Nuremberg post World War II, and
Right.
it was largely a Nazi trials, your Germans, if you like,
Mm.
and whomever was on the German side, and South Africa at the time was on the other side of the conflict. So most of the Boer generals did not face the Nuremberg. What had happened and what is happening now, in fact, which is very important for this interview, is that the United States threatens the the UN, for any finding or any investigation. The ICC or the ICJ must pursue in it or its citizens in all its wars. I think that is what is worrying everyone, and as such, most countries have started even withdrawing from the statute. I mean, how is it possible that no one is held accountable for, say, for example, Libya, Afghanistan, Palestine? Israel kills Palestinian kids and Palestinian daily, but the court does nothing. Now, these are the atrocities I'm talking about. I mean, when we ask, they will say, no, we will withdraw peacekeeping forces in the UN, or else you comply with what we are doing. Don't investigate us. And then if a court makes a decision, they are the first again to jump on that decision. Yeah, arrest this one. But when it affects them, no, they threaten. So in fact, they even sanction some of the judges. Yes, they sanctioned some of the judges in the ICJ, the Americans and the British. But when it comes to African leaders or other states, your third world or developing, it's it's something else again. So that is what we need to address. The statute in itself is fine. Its intended purpose is fine, but everything around it is questionable.
Hmm.
That is the
Actually,
issue.
you preempted my next question and you've answered it at length. Thank you for that explanation regarding Palestine, Libya, Afghanistan. There's also the issue of the Rohingya, in Myanmar, the Uyghurs in China, and lots of such marginalized people all around the world that are really the forgotten people, and really nobody seems to talk on their behalf. So, thank you for that very important aspect to the interview. Let's fast forward back to 1988. Um, is there anything else of significance, or is it these colonial powers or the US and the UK still steeped in that mentality of colonialism that they're taking this stance, this Bars Cup stance of theirs, that they, that everybody needs to abide by their rulings? Are you still there? we seem to have lost the connection with Sukumbuso
Hello?
Toma. Oh, there you are. Did you hear
Hello?
my question? We lost
So
you
yes,
there
I
for a
heard you.
minute.
Yeah, no, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
I'm sorry about
Uh,
that.
so
Okay,
yeah,
did you
actually you caught
did you
me
get my
unavailable.
question? Did you get my
Yes,
question?
I got your question. I got your question. It's quite layered. It's quite
Yes.
layered. We are if we look geopolitically, né, the world is changing. That's the reality. And you are having a situation where after Britain, your so-called baton holder was the US.
Mm,
Now, for the first time in history, you are seeing other powers coming on par and even surpassing those economies combined, i.e., your BRICS.
mm,
Now, this does not dwell well with your G7, if I can call it that.
mm,
Now, as the changes are happening, these guys are clutching at every other thing to remain and instill their hegemony. Now, look at what the French are doing in North Africa. Look at what the US is doing in the financial system. And in fact, the war in Ukraine. Look at the resources that are being pumped in Ukraine
mm-hmm,
and look at how the financial systems are manipulated with anybody that does not want to take their side. You are punished for not voting to agree with the US in its stance to the not let alone fighting with Russia. If you say no, I'm non-aligned, sanctions come on you, and all number of things happen to your country. So that is at the heart of this thing. In the middle of that, then you have the ICC taking or issuing a warrant against President Putin. Putin, that is not even part of the statute, is not even a signatory. They pass on a warrant of arrest for him. They issue it, so it's an issuance. Now, then we ask ourselves, but hang on, both the US and Russia are not, Russia and Ukraine are not part of this issue. What right does the ICC have to even, intervene in this thing when they don't have a jurisdiction? And then to top it off, they come back, not put those charges in their website as per the law. We look. You can go to their website now. You will not find Putin's warrant of arrest on the website. All you'll find is a media statement that we passed this thing, but what the charges are, you'll not see them. That to me, and everybody that is an international relations practitioner raises a lot of red flags about this. And immediately after this issuance of the warrant, the ICC gets the funding that it's been begging for all the years. Some judges got some like up to 5 million for some project they are doing and whatever. Out of the blue. So and it raises questions because the deeper you look, you find that they relied on a study done by some university in the US. I think it was Yale. That there's children abuse in the UK in the European conflict, and you then wonder yourself, why must the ICC rely on? Sorry, there's an echo. Why must the ICC rely on a study that is done by a university in the United States, probably even funded by the United States government, to issue a warrant of arrest on a sitting head of state who cannot even now go to any international appeals institution?
mm-hmm,
That is the deeper problem, because it means President Ramaphosa tomorrow can be charged.
mm-hmm,
They can wake up and say, no, look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, use a stupid thing like in the Zim issue. Say, yeah, there's abuse in the border here, and then they charge him for human rights. And then
Uh,
he's landlocked in South Africa and can't do his work. Basically,
right.
that is what has happened.
We've only got about 2 minutes to wrap up time, and you've really piqued my interest. And I could talk to you for so much longer. When you talk about the USA, uh, when you talk about the USA, I'm thinking they are so invested in helping out Ukraine against the Russian invasion that. There are threats, or there's the possibility that the UK government could close down for a week, meaning that all federal workers, government workers will not get paid, and that could have major repercussions on the American economy and the American people. Despite that, Biden goes on to say that they will still secure $6 billion for aid to the Ukraine, despite the fact that the United States is on the brink, the government is on the brink of a shutdown. So one wonders about all of their, motives. And having said that as well, something else comes to mind, and that is the claims that the American ambassador to South Africa, Brigady, made the claims that he has suggested that South Africa has sent arms to Russia. You remember when that naval ship was in Simonstown? And that comment of his has cost South Africa dearly. Our rand plummeted. We took quite a beating as far as the exchange rate, etc., is concerned. So very quickly, if you could respond to that for us.
Well, firstly, if anything, Russians can arm us. There's nothing we can give Russia.
Absolutely.
Firstly, that's the first thing. And secondly, that just shows you the manipulations of the financial markets. In fact, we're still taking a beating. The rand yesterday was at 1930 about.
Hmm.
We are still taking a heavy beating. That makes our imports unbearable. I mean, that is why you have the fuel price that happened last night.
Absolutely.
Mainly. But on the Ukraine, Americans don't give a damn about Ukraine. Yeah, let me first clarify that one. They have business interests in the Ukraine. They've got multi-billion rand pharmaceutical labs that they are running there. Secondly, they've got your companies like your BlackRock. They've got properties in Ukraine. That is what Americans' interests are. And to top it off, in that, if they can weaken Russia in the process, so be it. So how do you explain that? In fact, the 6 billion you talk about has gone missing. It was sent to the Ukraine, and then when they looked, in fact, someone found out that the money has vanished, and then they called
Yeah.
it an accounting error. Yeah, you can Google it. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
Unbelievable. I thought
When
I thought
listen,
it only happens in South Africa.
no, no, no. Yes, we're not. We're part of these guys. These guys are well ahead of us. In fact, Hungary. What's his name? President of Hungary. I forgot his name.
Mm.
He said his country is gonna stop giving any money to the EU until there's accountability to every dollar that is sent or euro sent to the Ukraine. So that is where we are now in terms of the EU and the funding for the Ukraine. 2 days ago, the Congress, for the first time, approved funding but stopped financial aid to Ukraine. Biden must sign that bill by Friday. He's gonna see flames, I think. Now, to go back again to where the question started, you know, the sooner people come back to the Minsk agreements, the sooner everybody sobers up, even to the Turkey. In fact, part of the reason we're being punished is why did Africa go and intervene in the Russia-Ukraine thing? That's actually why we are being punished. Yeah, they were looking for a reason to sanction us, and they did not do their math. I mean, when we gave them a commission to submit evidence, they were unable to, and that is the truth about the whole thing. So now, in the Ukraine matter, these guys, if you can hear me, if you can see that after these agreements, or when they were fooling Putin, this conflict should never have arisen. No soul should have been dead. The Russian republics in the Ukraine have every right to vote for a referendum, as with any constitution of their country, and it's a people that has voted. And while the Ukrainians have been killing them since 2014, these guys have not said a thing. So that is at the heart of this whole thing. So now you have this ICC that sees nothing. You get a sense that it's told, no, make a decision on this one, make a decision on that too, not that one. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how is it that Zelensky does not face the same thing when his own country has been, there's been ethnic cleansing of Russians in Ukraine for the last 10 years? Donbass has been,
Sikumbuso, we've run out of time. It's been absolutely fascinating talking with you. I need to get you back on air to have a more in-depth discussion. But very quickly before I let you go, the South African government, together with its member on the Permanent Court of Arbitration, has nominated as a candidate for election to the ICJ Professor Dire Tladi. Your thoughts on that? Is it even necessary for us to have a representative at the ICJ?
I know Claudio personally. He's written at great length, even on the transformation of the ICC.
Mm.
We need people that will begin transforming those organs, international organs of state. So having people like that there might help us, but we need more. But remember, everything that's dependent on donor funding, it's not independent at all, because you will be told that, look, if you want this, you must do this. So ICC and ICJ must get an independent press. I think then from there we might see some balance. People like Blair might still get their fair share of hearings.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. As I've indicated, absolutely fascinating talking to you. And just for the record, the name of the president of Hungary is Katalin Novak. But wonderful talking with you till the next time. You stay
Oh, yes,
safe.
yes, Catalina.
You stay safe. Go well.
Okay, bye, bye.
It is exactly 5 after 9 o'clock, and of course, Jadwood is standing by with the bulletin of the morning. So we'll take an ad break and then go straight to the news, inshallah.